Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Rams Review preview show. And today we are previewing Derby County back at Pride Park Stadium, and the visitors being Preston North End. We've had a good start to the season, a steady start, perhaps even a surprising start to the season. And who better to discuss all Preston North End is our good friend Ollie from the Butter Pie podcast. Ollie, how are you, sir?
I'm good, thanks, Holty. Thanks for having me on.
No problem at all, mate. And it's good to catch up. So let's talk about Preston North End. Let's start off at last season. Obviously, last season was a finale. Ultimately,
Yeah,
Preston decided to derail themselves and went, I believe, from February to the last season, last pretty much the last game of the season, not winning a game. I think it was 15 games in total, and then you
mm,
scraped the result at last game to survive. How did that feel, and what was the problem?
yeah. It seems to happen every season when it comes to Preston, in the fact that the players realise there's nothing to play for. Ultimately, last season was a bit earlier than we should have done. Usually, it happens early April, where the sunglasses, the flip flops come on, and we're on the beach. So it's not notable in previous seasons where P&E have been, scratching around the 12th place and then don't win 5 or 6 games and we end up, 16th. For the rest of the league, that's normal. But we had a good FA Cup run. We got to the quarterfinals against Aston Villa at Deepdale. I was bang up for the cup, and we unfortunately got absolutely ripped to shreds. Lost 3-0, and then I think the players thought, you know what, we're safe. We're fine where we are. I think we're about 12th. We got an injury to one of our main men in Ali McCann, which really solidifies the midfield. And the players just they didn't have an ounce of fight in them, an ounce of integrity, so to speak. And I actually thought we were going to go down going into the last couple of games of the season, which it's baffling. You say 15 games there, it felt a lot longer because you're in the stretch where you're not picking up points. And fortunately, obviously, West Brom did us a favour in the final game of the season because we ended up throwing away a 2-0 lead away at Bristol. So, yeah. It was. I didn't go, but I was sat behind the pillow for the majority of the game. But this season, it's been a lot of wholesale changes, especially in the transfer window. A lot of players have gone out. Some players within the first team, and we've brought in 12 new players. So it's a brand new Preston North End, so to speak, and rightfully so. To be fair.
So let's talk about that all new Preston North End. Paul Higginbottom doesn't come across to me as an inspirational character. I don't know. Obviously, I don't know him personally, but you talk about the end of the season and they didn't seem to have any fight in them or ambition. Does that come from the manager? Because at Derby County, we have a guy at the helm now who is renowned for his passion and his ability to get the best out of pretty much average players.
Yeah, I think it's hard because Heckingbottom came in at a really, really hard time because he came in with one game played and Ryan Lowe left. So most of the summer window had been done. Heckingbottom plays differently to Ryan Lowe and he needs certain players for certain areas. He was able to bring in one player that was Josh Bowler in the summer transfer window, and then obviously there wasn't much change to go around for January. We ended up bringing in Lewis Gibson, who has been a sensational signing. And Jay Magoma on loan. So realistically, last season Heckingbottom's brought in 3 players on a shoestring budget, and he's kind of been made to put up and shut up. He solidified us. I thought at the start of the season, here we go. It's the players have just thrown it from the start. We had a naff end to the season before Lowe, and then Lowe came in and lost again. He went Heckingbottom up and down as North End normally does, and then I think it falls back to player mentality and the fact I didn't put it on Heckingbottom. Obviously, some of it he had to stick by because he was quite rigid and this is the way I want to play. This is the way I want my team to play. And I think it was just one of those where it's like, please just get us over the line until summer, and then I'm able to bring in more of my players and allow myself to put my stamp on something. So to be fair to him, he solidified us up until February. We lost a couple of players due to injury, and it just all fell away. So it's give and take. It depends who you ask, really. Some people will put it on Heckingbottom, some people will not. But he's turned it around this season. I fully expected us to be probably sat near the relegation zone because we've had a tough start. And here we are sitting quite pretty, so to speak. So yeah, it's been pleasantly surprising. But he's able to motivate the players and the fans. I think for players that will buy into what he does. If you don't buy into what he does and you don't have that mentality, I think you'll probably struggle.
So let's talk about the transfer market. Yeah, he obviously had
Yeah.
a full window this time round. What have been the fundamental changes? What has his been sort of directive of who to bring in and who to get rid of? Has he changed the squad to allow the system to be changed, or has he literally brought in fresh ideas, fresh quality, or is the system still the same, but he's now got square pegs and square holes as such?
Yeah, I think it's the latter in terms of square pegs in square holes. We've had a shoestring budget this season. I actually don't think we've spent anything. We've sold two players for money. We brought in, on a permanent deal, Odella Fire, which I think is a minimal fee, and then you brought in a backup, Jack Walton, on a minimal fee, and the rest are frees and loans. So the first thing he did was, be able to bring in a new keeper, which was needed. Obviously, Freddie Woodman left, and now's got the best job in the world as third choice keeper at Liverpool, where you paid to eat healthy, train well, and hang around with fantastic players. So Everson's coming. He's been sensational. We had him a couple of seasons ago, and he was back then. I thought he was one of the better Championship players, goalkeepers, I should say. And we've totally rebuilt our defence. We've added pace, which is a massive thing. Pace at wing backs, brought in Thierry Small. We brought in Paul Valentin. It's just pace, pace, pace. And we really lacked that last season. I think, especially with wing backs, you need them to get up and down. And we were playing, we were playing Robbie Brady, who albeit he's got a one of a left foot, he's not going to get up and down as quick as. And then we've got Brad Potts, who he's not the quickest. Obviously, he's a good runner, but he's not quick. But now we've got Paul Valentin, we've got Thierry Small, who are able to stretch and able, once you do win the ball back, they're able to get up to that byline and get up there quick. But the main thing, rebuild that defence, make us solid, make us hard to beat, especially at home. And when we do go a goal up, or if we stay 0-0, we're defensively resolute. And although we conceded late at the weekend against Middlesbrough, to keep Borough out for a long period of time, and we were 2-1 up going into the 93rd minute. So it's made me a lot more confident about our defence, because usually if someone was running at them last season, you just put your head in your hands. But focused on pace, especially, you could say in the attacking area as well, brought Lewis Dobbin. He's been a breath of fresh air. He's able to come into the spaces, be able to collect it, and just kind of drive and do something with it. Because last season, especially, even at Pride Park, we kind of had, the back three, the midfield five, and then the two up top. We're going to lump the ball to you. You're going to have to make something out of nothing. But now we've brought in players that fill in these gaps, that, yes, we can transition into them, allow them to pick up the ball, and allow them to create something for our strikers in, Militon Osmajic and Michael Smith, who's also been brought in, who's a bit of a wrecking ball, so to speak. I think that's probably the best word. He was 6'4" and just lob a brick at him, to be fair. So we've got a mixture of players, but I think we've been focusing mainly on young, strong, athletic and fast players, which it's been nice to see. I know North End had someone who Derby fans will know well in Tom Barkhausen before his knees turned there, but he was absolutely rapid. And we've kind of brought in players trying to like replicate what the pace that we did have, because North End don't have a lot of the ball, but when we do, we need to make the most of it. And if that's having quick players to get to the byline to put the ball in the box, that's the way that Heckingbottom saw it.
Yeah, well, Barkhausen's knees were definitely gone by the time he got here. That's a fact. It's interesting you mentioned Lewis Dobbin. Obviously, he spent time at
Yeah,
Derby. Was he a success? Not really. I think he always had the ability to get into the box, but his finishing let him down. Although he scored a couple of crackers, don't get me wrong. So I think he'll get a good rapport coming back to the club, because he did give everything he had. And at the time, it was 2 years. Probably, I think he might have even been, yeah, it was 2 years ago. Um, so he would have learnt a lot. Tell me about your feelings of Harrison Armstrong, because he was
yeah,
class for Derby last year. We were gutted he never came back, although we'd signed other players prior to the rumour of him possibly coming back between Derby and Preston. He went to Preston. He's one hell of a player, isn't he?
yeah. He's only played a couple of minutes last game actually, but I fully expect him probably to get a start at the weekend. He came off the bench and he kind of gave. Well, he come onto the pitch and he doesn't feel like you're watching a 18, 19-year-old play. You feel like you're watching, an experienced 32, 33-year-old roam around the park. But yeah, he looks a top talent. I watched him when he was at Everton versus Mansfield in the cup, and he was probably the best player on the pitch, and that's saying something. So, yeah, last season at Derby, I know when you first brought him in, there was a bit of scepticism, but he's rightfully proved a lot of people wrong, and I do think David Moyes has probably gone back to his Preston roots and helped us out by guiding him to us rather than allowing someone else to get him. Because I know there was a lot of other championship offers in for him. He's mentioned that himself. And realistically, if you've got any sense, Preston would probably be one of your lower choices, if you so to speak. But Moyes has clearly done us a favour, and he's going to be a great addition because he looks like he uses quality. And if he's able to get box to box and allow us to transition from our back three, get the wing backs up high, and have someone who's able to get onto the edge of the box and just try and just cause havoc and pull defenders out and create space for others. It's a good signing. He's a very good signing. I have to give the kudos to the club because normally I'm the most pessimistic Preston fan ever. But yeah, the club have done well to be able to attract someone like Harrison Armstrong.
Yeah, he without doubt, if you keep him fit, he'll be your player of the year. I'll say that now. He's that good. Um, it'll be interesting to see how he plays against the club that ultimately has made his
Yeah,
name at. Because he made his name at Derby last year. He was outstanding. He's even been touted for our player of the year, but I don't think he qualified with the amount of games that he played. But we'll quickly move on to the flip side and your thoughts of Derby County and their squad building. And now we've just beaten West Brom. People are
yeah,
truly saying now our season is well and truly started. Our squad or our first 11 or our predictable first 11 is now coming together. There's a couple more that'll probably be available this Saturday. What's your thoughts on the Rams?
yeah. I like him. I do like him. I thought in terms of the recruitment done, majoritively I liked. Also, didn't like the fact that you just signing loads of Rovers players because don't like Rovers. So, but
I
yeah,
thought you'd be pleased that we're ripping them to bits.
yeah. But then when you come run up against them, you're like, yeah, but she's play. I think Travis is a good signing. I do like Sanderson as well. I think he's a good player. I think he's fluid as well. Um, but my co-host will say this: the main one, Patrick Adjumang, that's a terrific signing. Because my co-host watches a lot of MLS football, and he was like, "Listen, got to get in for this guy. And we were apparently looking at MLS guy, and he's like, it's him. Oh, it's him. So yeah, you've done great recruitment. Eustace is, coming and done a superb job. He's probably turned the corner, so to speak, for Derby, and I fully expect you to be continuing on your good form under him from the end of last season, and because he's been backed properly and rightfully so. It just seems that you've just finally got a team that, because Derby's a big club and he's got great fans, but it seems that you finally got someone you've been needing for so long, because it's just been topsy-turvy. It's been administration, it's been here, there, and it feels like you finally come back. And it's good to see as a neutral. Obviously, it's not the greatest for me coming on as an opposition fan for Saturday. But yeah, it seems like you've got your mojo back. Obviously, this season you haven't, got off to the greatest of starts, but I've got no doubt that Derby will be high-end mid-table pushing towards playoffs this season. I've got no doubt about that.
Oh, it's good to hear the positivity about the Rams, Ollie. And I think the start of the season, we didn't have anywhere near our starting 11, and we were ahead in every single game we've played so far this season.
Yeah,
So we know your pain when we talk about conceding last minute goals, and our start's been the same as yours, very difficult. And I think it's one of those games that we'll come to the predictions at the end of the show, but I think the big question to ask you is, as a Preston fan, you've seen what it takes to get relegated, and you've seen what it takes to survive. Who would be your tip for the three that are going down this year? And the reason I ask is because this is obviously, I think this is the sixth show I've done on the preview, and I'm afraid to tell you that the previous five have all said Preston in the
yeah,
bottom three. Where
yeah,
do you see the bottom three going?
yeah. I think, to be fair, I was placing at the start of the season. I was placing North End just to escape in 21st, but obviously the start of the season's probably altered my mind, so to speak. I think Sheffield Wednesday, unfortunately, is a given. Um, I think Oxford probably will sneak in there, and then it's maybe one between Hull and I will actually say Blackburn. I think it'll be a mixture of those four. I think North End probably just have enough. I think our home form, especially, we've made Deepdale hard to beat. Getting a 2-2 draw, probably should have won against Middlesbrough, who were flying high in the league. Beating Leicester, beating Ipswich at home. I think that's a pretty strong feat. And then obviously, I would have said QPR as well in that area, but I think Kone's probably got a bit too much for pulling them that way. So yeah, I'd guess at those four. I think North End probably are safe enough. If I had to wedge a bet, I'd probably put us around about 16th, if I had to say so. I'm not the greatest optimist. I'm not going to say we're going to finish ninth. I think we'll be solid enough. I think we'll just have enough in terms of our home form. It's our away form that I really look towards, and we need to get a grip, so to speak, of our away form, because it's not the greatest. But yeah, I think it'll be Sheffield Wednesday, Oxford, and then one of Rovers or Hull.
Okay, it's interesting because you named three other teams there. Again, of the five that I've spoken to prior, those three have been mentioned. I think the other one that's been thrown in there is Charlton. But I look at the
Yeah,
seasons. I look at the season so far, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. And you've played one. You've played them already, Wrexham. I think Wrexham are in for a big shock because I don't think they can do what anyone can go into League One and spend a bloody fortune and
yeah,
get promotion. Let's be completely realistic. They are now under some serious FFP regulations, and I think reality's hit them. But we'll leave them to one side. We play them in a couple of weeks' time, and I'm sure the Hollywood Bowl will be entertaining. So
oh,
Finally, the prediction for Saturday. How do you see it going, and what's your score prediction, Ollie?
Um, I know you've mentioned that Derby. Obviously, you've gone behind. Is it you've gone behind majoritively this season?
We have, but we've also been ahead in every single game.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
it's a bonkers. It's a bonkers league.
I'm gonna give you that again. I think we'll go 1-0 up, and I think we'll throw it away, which we usually do when it comes from home. I can see us scoring in the first half. And then, I always end up getting my hopes up, which usually just goes terribly wrong for me. But I'm going to predict a 2-1 Rams win. I just feel like we never seem to have enough away from home. And, when Pride Park's rocking, which I fully expect it to be, you've got the fans on side. And once a goal goes in, I think heads will drop. But I do have to say, we've got a really good keeper in terms of Daniel Everson, whose shot stopping is one of the best. So you'll really have to work a good goal to be able to, put it past him. It's not going to be like a Freddie Woodman where you can just, chuck a corner on top of his head and he'll flap at it. He's going to make you work for it. So, I expect Derby to win. I expect him to win 2-1.
I'll take that. I think I'll just correct myself. I think we went ahead against Stoke and blew that one. So, but yeah, it's interesting. Pride Park will be 30,000 plus on Saturday, without doubt. There's a huge optimism and excitement around the city of Derby at the moment because we've seen some real good shoots of green coming through, and I feel for Preston because I think you couldn't have hit us at a worse time. There's a real sort of revitalized team, like you said, and the win at West Brom has just made that even more strong. So I'm going to go for a 3-1. I think Preston will probably stick a goal early. Derby tend to start shaky, but they really come good. They're definitely a second half team,
Yeah.
and I think the second half for you guys might be difficult. But Ollie, if I just wrap it up, it's been great to catch up again. Where can the Rams fans and Preston North End fans find you?
Yeah, so if after obviously a derby win at the weekend, if you want to see some salty episodes, the Butter Pie podcast on Spotify or Apple Music or all good reputable streaming sites, and it is at the Butter Pie Pod on Twitter or X, whichever you call it.
Ollie, thanks for your time, mate. Really appreciate it. I do wish you all the best of the season. I think it's going to be tough. I'm not going to lie. I think Preston, anything that's better than last year is a bonus, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Don't want to drag me through that last day again. I don't.
And I don't think we'll be there joining you, to be honest. I think,
No,
like I said, the future's quite bright for Derby. But that's been the Rams Review podcast preview show with Ollie from the Butter Pie podcast, previewing Derby County versus Preston North End this Saturday. It leaves me one final thing to say. Come on, you Rams.